And good evening, everybody, and welcome back. It is Monday, December 3rd, 2012. You are listening to Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rents Radio Network. Joining us this hour, I'm not sure how long Mr. Fadi has with us, but Al Fadi is a former, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this correctly, Wahhabi Muslim from Saudi Arabia. He's the researcher, editor, writer, and translator for numerous ministries, including Answering Islam, and runs an outreach ministry designed for non-Muslim and Christians. The ministry's focus is to bring awareness regarding Islam, to build bridges with Muslim seekers, and to open the door to share the gospel with Muslims. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much for the invitation, sir.
Your book, The Quran Dilemma, what is this and what made you write it?
I'm one of the co-authors. A group of us former Muslims decided that, in the history of Islam, and believe it or not, in the last 14 centuries, any attempt to try to explain the Quran, which is the Muslims' holy book, or interpret it, or try to derive teachings from it, such as why, for instance, the radicals do what they do, why do they kill innocent people, why are they willing to kill even other Muslims. If you attempt to do that, unfortunately, you're always faced with this dilemma that a Muslim scholar will say, well, you have to know Arabic, or you have to know the language of the Quran, or you have to know Islamic sources. And, of course, recently, especially after September 11, the world has been really basically interested in knowing why does Islam promote these kind of teachings, specifically Western societies. And, unfortunately, the lack, of course, the understanding of the Arabic language. So we felt it necessary, myself and my colleagues, since we are former Muslims, know Islam, know the Quran, know Arabic, and we know where to find Islamic sources, to try to explain the dilemmas of the Quran, specifically in areas like Sharia, jihad, and other violent teachings as well, and the status of women, and many other interesting issues. So that's why we came up with this book. We wanted to make it a one-stop shop for people. It has a variety of areas in it that you're not going to find in one single book. Usually you have to search for other sources and other books to get them. So we analyzed the Quran critically, and we focused on what does it mean, what does it teach, how did it come about, how was it put together, and what kind of teachings does it have in it regarding women, regarding people of other faiths, Christian, Jews, and others that do not believe in Islam, and so on and so forth. So that's where the idea came about.
You have a master's degree in biblical communications and engineering. Is that correct?
I am still finishing my master's degree in biblical communications, almost there, but yes, I do have a master's degree in engineering.
Okay. Reading your bio, it says that you're a former Muslim. And in reading further, it's my understanding that you also actively engage in bringing the gospel to Muslim countries. That, to me, would put you in a dilemma when it comes to interpreting Islamic law, because wouldn't that actually subject you to threats and possible even death?
That is true. Under Sharia law, an apostate like myself definitely can face death penalty. Now, thankfully, media these days can make miracles. So our ministry and our approach to Muslims doesn't have to be in person on the grounds. We reach out to them through Facebook, through television, through YouTube, through Twitter, through many other media outlets, and in writing as well. And all of these have been very, very powerful outreaches, and there are those who are on the ground that will capitalize on that as well. So Muslims have been paying close attention to what we do, and others like us, and they have been really enjoying at least the freedom of knowing more about their own faith, that they don't have to go to a clerk and ask questions that can jeopardize them as well.
You've got a couple of recent posts up on your website. I'm going to read off the titles of the last two, basically. You've got an interesting article on the Israeli-Hamas ceasefire where you point out the winners and losers. And then there's the New Democracy in Egypt minority rule. Both of these situations, not to mention Benghazi, for that matter, have really caused people to look at Islamic Jihad and people who want to enforce Sharia law. You've got President Morsi in Egypt, who has basically declared himself a dictator. You've got Benghazi, where nobody seems to want to answer questions. Who are the winners and losers when it comes to the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas? Let's start there.
Well, certainly, as you alluded to, the blog article, in there I made it very clear that the winners out of all of this, the number one actually winner would be Hamas. And it's ironic to say that when we are dealing with Hamas as a terrorist group, Hamas is not even a government. They are occupiers of that Gaza Strip. They force themselves on people. They buy people and their votes by providing for them. And unfortunately, they had now to basically get the acknowledgement by sovereign nations. For instance, Israel had to deal with them. Egypt had to deal with them, but of course there's an alliance with Egypt because the Muslim Brotherhoods are the parents, or the parent, if you wish, organization of Hamas. And of course the U.S. has to deal with them. So that gave the Hamas group the legitimacy that they were looking for, that, hey, we are obviously an important group that nations are dealing with us. So they definitely emerged as a winner. Iran, on the other hand, of course, emerged as an indirect winner because they've been behind all of these missiles and supporting Hamas to bomb Israel and supporting them financially as well, because it's, even though they both have different theologies, Hamas, for instance, is a Sunni, Iran is a Shia, this shows that when it comes to Israel and the enemies of Islam, according to their theology, they will be willing to unite. And that's another dangerous thing that we must pay close attention to. And as you know, of course, Iran has been in the media for a while now because of their nuclear ambition. And of course, for Iran, it's important that they secure the southern borders of Israel, since they have already secured the northern borders of Israel by way of alliance with Hezbollah in Lebanon. So that's their strategic location. And of course, Egypt has emerged now with a new government, and that's the Muslim Brotherhoods, who have been really trying since 1928 to get into politics and power, and now they had the whole country landed in their lap, simply because others refused to at least stand in the way, and we gave them the green light, thinking that they are a democratic group. And as you have alluded to this point right now, you said Morsi actually appointed himself as a dictator, and it's ironic because he came in to claim that he wanted to replace a previous dictator, Mubarak, that he himself is doing even worse than what Mubarak is doing. He's disregarding the opinion of people completely right now. He is going to vote and approve this Sharia law constitution. And unfortunately, Egypt is almost, we can wash our hands from that nation for a while, because they're going to turn into like Iran, just a religious country that will be a thorn on our side for a while.
I was going to say, do you think that he's going to succeed? Do you think, honestly, that Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood is going to succeed in, I mean, you've got the Egyptian people already, up in arms over this. Are they powerful enough already within the Egypt structure to succeed at this, to prevent from being overthrown?
I mean, it's an excellent question. I mean, in the past, it used to be the military that would step in and clean house and say, listen, we're not going to fall for this. We care for the country and the people. But unfortunately, since the Muslim Brotherhoods took over, the military Supreme Council is nowhere to be found. And by the way, the Muslim Brotherhood has been very smart. They've been infiltrating that rank for years. And now, I can assure you, if the military Supreme Council is not going to intervene and get involved, then yes, the Muslim Brotherhoods will secure power and will succeed. So the only way that this will be turned over, or basically turned around, if the military will get involved. And so far, I'm not seeing any signs of that.
Before Arafat died, we thought the PLO was the biggest difficulty in bringing peace between Israel and the Palestinians. And now we've got Hamas in the Gaza Strip. We've got, who is it in the West Bank? Is it Hezbollah? or is it still the PLO at this point? But I
No,
mean,
it's remnant of the PLO, basically.
Okay. I mean, it's almost like now you don't know who you're trying to work with. It's like from one day to the next, you could be dealing with a different person claiming to represent the people's interest. When we come back, I'm going to ask you what you think of the possibilities of lasting peace between Israel and Hamas and the West Bank and Gaza. You're listening to Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rents Radio Network. We are speaking with Mr. Al-Fadi. We'll be right back.
White House in foreclosure, unlawful intrusions, delightful delusions with foregone conclusions. Yeah, another Nobel Prize based on your proof. Man, I'm eco-friendly, love the planet, hate the movement. The green gods are deadly to prosperity and improvement. Is that right audacity, defies nature and gravity? Have you no sense of decency? Gonna take some common sense, a little less.
Scientists in England have succeeded in stabilizing the time-honored substance in garlic that destroys harmful bacteria, viruses, molds, yeast, and fungus. This all-natural microbe killer is called Allicin C, and it's now available to you in 100% vegetarian capsules only on the New Earth page at Rents.com. This powerful broad-spectrum antimicrobial agent is harmless to friendly bacteria and has been concentrated to equal an astonishing 35 cloves of garlic in each vegetarian capsule. Think about it. The antibacterial, antiviral strength of 35 odorless cloves of garlic in just one capsule. Allicin C is so effective it even destroys superbug MRSA in test after test. Allicin C is truly an incredible advance in natural medicine, and with the threats of bacterial and viral diseases and pandemics growing, no home should be without it. Learn more and order Allicin C on the New Earth page at Rents.com.
Remember this name, Carnivora. That's CARNIVORA.com. What if I told you that this 100% pure and natural product was delivered directly to the White House at President Reagan's personal request at a time when only the president was able to obtain it? Reagan used this amazing product, Carnivora, successfully, a product derived only from nature that has the intelligence to instinctively attack abnormal cells only without harming a single normal cell, and the power to actually wake up critical immune cells from dormancy to attack foreign invaders that don't belong in our bodies. Carnivora is now obtainable by anyone who wants to get healthy and stay that way. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY and protect yourself with 17 naturally occurring compounds that will unleash powerful immune defense. That's 1-866-VENUS-FLY. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY and get your Carnivora today. Visit carnivora.com.
Known worldwide as the most consistently fascinating, informative, and unique program on radio, the Jeff Rense program can be yours to listen to anytime, anywhere, whenever you want to hear it. For pennies a day, our subscribers can download any of Jeff's thousands of programs featuring a treasury of newsmakers, researchers, eyewitnesses, and incredible subjects, all in MP3 commercial-free, crystal-clear 56-bit digital sound, and take these often unforgettable programs with them wherever they go. As a subscriber, you can also listen live at airtime, online, anywhere in the world, or browse through our archives of over 10,000 hours of legendary broadcasts. Subscribe now by taking the link at the top of Rents.com and enrich your mind with the most unique panorama of vital information and the best independent, honest journalism in radio. Look for the Subscribe Now link on Rents.com and give yourself the knowledge you need for these unprecedented times.
Welcome back to the program, everyone. Real quick, a note. The first email to ttm@sinclairnews.net, within the subject line, write, Carl discovers wildlife art. That is tonight's Len Freese children's book giveaway. Back to Mr. Fadi. I asked you before going to commercial, if you think what it's going to take to actually bring a lasting peace between Israel and the Palestinians.
I don't want to sound pessimistic, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen. And not because the majority of the people in the Middle East don't want it to happen. Even if 99% of them want it to happen, those who are trying to assume power, like the Hamas people or the PLO and the others like them, or who knows what's going to come in the future, it does not behoove them to make a deal with Israel for theological reasons. That's the number one. So when you're dealing with religion and theology, unfortunately, Islam doesn't bend backward. And it teaches very vicious things against Israel. So that's number one. Number two, many of these groups like Hamas benefit a lot from having a conflict with Israel. I mean, for instance, Hamas right now, of course, they're getting a lot of financial support, military support from Iran, and possibly from other nations that we may not know about. So these people, of course, who are part of these kind of groups, they become rich overnight, and they can care less about people. And these are the two dilemmas that the majority of people will be faced with. For as long as I remember, they were always talks about peace with Israel, but that never materialized. And unfortunately, this ceasefire, treaty or truce will not going to last forever as well. And Hamas will find a reason to bomb Israel, and Israel will find itself again, they're back against the wall, and they have to make a decision whether to invade, whether to bomb. And whatever they do, no matter what they do, even if they're defending themselves, they're always going to be blamed as the aggressor. So this is pretty much the, my opinion on this whole idea of having a lasting peace.
Let's jump into Syria real quick, because we seem to be talking a lot about Benghazi, about Israel and Hamas, about President Morsi in Egypt. And, I mean, this thing that's been taking place in Syria now, we weren't exactly really quick in jumping on the Libyan bandwagon when rebels started protesting against Gaddafi, but we eventually did. Let's face it, the Obama administration failed to come out in support of protesters in Iran and even congratulated Ahmadinejad on re-election. We tend to be saber-rattling a lot ourselves when it comes to certain situations in the Middle East. Syria, there's no doubt in my mind that we're involved on the ground from a covert side of things, but is it really worth sitting back and watching people be massacred like this?
Of course not, but, I don't think we are prepared militarily to handle the situation in Syria as a solo nation. We're going to need some alliance. We're going to need NATO or support from the European nations. And I don't think we are in a position to do something like this. A country like Syria, it's going to get a lot of support from Iran and from Russia without a doubt. So it's going to be escalated if we get involved that way. However, I heard the president today talking or warning the Syrian government if they would use any of the chemical weapons that supposedly they've been moving around against their own people. If they would do something like that, I can assure you it will be much easier to get that support that you're looking for, and Russia probably will back off, out of embarrassment. But nevertheless, it's going to be hard. And all we can do is probably continue to do the things that we're doing over there in hope to see who is going to be emerging right now as more powerful, more victorious. It will probably take longer time with the Syrian regime because of the support they receive, but they seem to be losing more and more grounds, and therefore it's just a matter of time before you can tell what's going on. But I would agree with your comment that you mentioned earlier that we seem to be failing in different ways. And unfortunately, sometimes we support certain countries or certain groups or certain rebels, and we don't back the others. And by the way, the people of the Middle East always have this kind of memory about the U.S., that the U.S. only supports whatever is pleasing to their own interests. And they get this impression about us, and they do not think of any other reasons why we didn't get involved right away or faster, for instance. Right now, for instance, the people of Egypt are blaming us now for what's going on because they think just by the fact that our Secretary of State met with Morsi and tried to work a deal regarding this peace treaty between Hamas and Israel, that means we're responsible as well for this Sharia constitution. So they're always going to find a reason to blame us. And no matter what we do, I think we're always going to come out of this with the short end of the stick. Forgive me for saying that.
Well, no, actually, I appreciate your honesty because I think that's something that people in this country need to acknowledge. Look, we're still stuck in Afghanistan, and we continue to fight against the very guns that we put in the Taliban's hands to fight when Russia and the Taliban were going at each other for 10 years. We turn around and get involved in Libya. We put weapons in rebels' hands that we don't know how to vet them. We think that we can combat. It was the same thing in Egypt. We turn around and say that we back and support certain individuals or certain groups of people that are meeting with the Secretary of State in Paris. And then the very people that we turn around and say, hey, they're on the right side of things, turns around and starts killing people.
That's very true. That's very true. And I have a suspicion that some of the weapons used against our ambassador in Benghazi were our own.
Mr. Fadi, could you hang tight with us for one more segment? Because I'd like to touch on that, if you would.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. You're listening to Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rents Radio Network. We'll be right back with Mr. Al Fadi.
Little pictures, Phyllis Little was a permanent fixture. Daydreaming through the science class lectures. My first kiss behind the high school bleachers. My mom's meatballs, my grandma's sauce, and Vicky's cookies, chocolate s'mores. Thor dental hygiene's lost. Then Liz, Doug, and Heinz can make a chocolate to eat dental floors. California, seeing the sights, getting drunk, looking up at the Napa Valley moonshine, gazing at the stars on a Hollywood nights. If the stars walk by my side, I heard Lady Liberty lost her crown. As I was searching for my country at the lost and found, fell in love at first sight, messing around. He had the cutest little nose against the window at the doggy pound. I'm American made.
Charlie McGrath of Wide Awake News here with an important message from Chris, Phil, Russ, Tyler, and the rest of the folks at BuyEmergencyFoods.com. Do not wait until it's too late to be prepared for disaster. The world's a crazy place. Ever-present threat of man-made political and economic crisis makes it important to be prepared. But when you factor in natural disasters, it goes from being important to being mandatory. 7.7 earthquake in Canada, 6.5 earthquake in Central America, and over 50 million Americans affected by Hurricane Sandy, all in the span of just a few days. Make Legacy Premium freeze-dried storable food part of your preparedness plan today. Legacy Premium tastes great, has a 25-year shelf life, and is the only certified non-GMO freeze-dried storable food in the business. I recommend the 360-serving package. That's 120 days worth of life-sustaining calories for about $1.25 a serving. Please call them at 888-543-7345. Again, 888-543-7345, or better yet, visit them online at buyemergencyfoods.com.
American Masters Painting, a family-owned and operated business beautifying homes in Northern Virginia for over 30 years. American Masters craftsmen serve all of your painting, staining, and wood refinishing needs. American Masters not only guarantees to deliver satisfying results, they also promise a positive, rewarding, and personalized experience to your complete satisfaction. American Masters Painting is recognized for its flawless expertise in all custom interior and exterior projects. For a free and timely estimate, contact American Masters Painting toll-free at 888-760-7760 or visit AmericanMastersPainting.com. And remember, when you're thinking American Masters Painting, you're thinking one family serving another, one project at a time. American Masters Painting is a proud sponsor of Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rents Radio Network.
You're listening to the Rents Radio Network, coast to coast on the Galaxy 19 KU band satellite, nationwide and worldwide on the internet, and of course, on rents.com.
Are chemtrail geoengineering programs changing our weather and destroying our environment? Why in the world are they spraying?
They want to create a storm in the southeast, then they'll start engineering out over the North Pacific. That's where the trade-ins will be.
Find out why critics are calling Why in the World Are They Spraying the most important film that is revolutionizing the environmental movement.
It's just going to get worse until the point where we're not going to be able to grow anything at all unless it's a Monsanto genetically modified, abiotic stress resistant seed.
Why in the world are they spraying? New international version with languages available from around the world. For 1 month, Rinse listeners receive free shipping. Go to the banner on the front of the Rinse website and click on the link for more info.
It's all about money, and weather is another form of commoditizing, a way the Central Command Group can commoditize another form of our life.
Why in the world are they spraying?
And if you control the weather, you're going to control the planet. It's that simple.
Will 2012 bring the Mayan end of world or the global banking collapse? In 2007, one man, Mike Dillard, made 5 predictions which forecasted the 2008 economic crisis and the pending Eurozone collapse. This week, Mike unleashes 3 brand new, shocking, must-watch videos with predictions for the coming year. www.the3videos.com. Over the past year, Mike Dillard has helped thousands of ordinary people create and recover wealth by tapping into the black box investing strategies the big banks don't want you to know about. www.the3videos.com. As the European banking system implodes and governments collapse at breakneck speeds, the next 12 months will be the most anticipated and important months in modern human history. This will make 2008 look like a walk in the park. Everyone will be affected. Go to www.the3videos.com now. Learn how to prepare your family and prosper during the global financial collapse.
You're my soldier boy, a man amongst men. You're my soldier boy, a man amongst men.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rinse Radio Network, and we are speaking with Mr. Al Fadi, and his website is thequrandilemma.com, and that is spelled Quran, just so some of us Westerners aren't really sure on that spelling, so I wanted to make sure of that. Before going to commercial, I was talking about the fact that we tend to put weapons in people's hands that end up using them to kill us, and you made a statement about your suspicions that possibly Chris Stevens was killed in the Benghazi attacks on September 11th with our very own weapons. It's interesting that you said that because we reported at sinclairnews.net about 2 months ago that we had sources from the State Department that made it perfectly clear that that's exactly what happened. Are we not answering questions about what actually happened in Benghazi because it was the very weapons that we put in Libyans' hands?
I think the weapons are one of the reasons, but of course there's another issue is what was the ambassador doing in Benghazi? That's another question. Supposedly there was a meeting between him and the Turkish ambassador, so there is a lot of questions about that because of the ties between the Turkish government and the Syrian government or even the Muslim Brotherhood. So are we trying to negotiate with either the rebels or trying to negotiate with the Muslim Brotherhood over something? Or are we even trying to negotiate with Al-Qaeda through a mediator? So there is a lot of unanswered questions, and that's, of course, why it opened the door for a lot of speculations. But I am almost certain that the weapons used by these radicals were weapons that probably came directly from us when we were trying to help the rebels during the Gaddafi regime. And it's unfortunate, we did the same thing with Afghanistan, as you mentioned earlier, and look what the Taliban did to us and caused us this war that lasted for 10 years. Look what Osama bin Laden did when we helped him against the Soviets. He turned against us and caused September 11th. So we have a long history, really, of either not learning our lessons or possibly just maybe there is an agenda that the rest of us don't know about, and only the government just knows why we keep doing what we're doing.
There's a lot of sentiment in this country that maybe, and I think the Obama administration has exemplified this with his apology tours, but there's a lot of sentiment here in the U.S. that maybe we should stop trying to be the police of the world. Ron Paul, whose foreign policy may seem extreme to some people, he got a lot of people interested in the U.S. taking care of itself and stop inserting itself in all of these different disputes around the world. And let's face it, our track record in the Middle East right now is not one to be bragging about, is it?
You're absolutely right. Even though, I believe the administration's policy is intended actually to try to help our image, which has been negative for as long as I remember. We're always blamed for something, of course. So they thought maybe by doing certain actions like the ones that have been done lately, by helping this or stopping, not standing in the way of democracies or the people's choice or other things like that took place here in the Arab Spring, for instance, maybe in doing so that people will like us. But obviously, the results were not really favorable, and I think they still look at us in the same way they looked at us before. I would agree with you that we shouldn't be policing the region, but we should also not be pacifists all the time in terms of not stepping in when needed. And there's another way for us not to help, and that's financially. And they need our money, so if we would cut that line off, at least temporarily, we can get their attention immediately, at least those who are benefiting from us, like the Muslim Brotherhood, for instance. If we would use that card, I think we can get their ear a lot quicker than just staying on the side and waiting to see what's going to happen.
You know, when the Shah of Iran was overthrown in the 1970s, I was a teenager, and I happened to be living in an area and going to a community college in southeastern Arizona that had a large Iranian student body for its pilot training program. People today, especially kids who weren't even born then, don't understand that a lot of what took place in Iran had to do with the fact that the Shah of Iran was trying to westernize a strictly Muslim country a bit too fast. Are we making the mistake to think that we can go in and say that democracy wins out every time? I mean, look, you've got the Muslim Brotherhood that uses democratic principles to get into power, but once they're in power, democracy goes out the window. Morsi's a good example of that.
That is very true, and what I mean by they is like the Muslim Brothers, for instance. They use the word democracy a lot, and they use it a lot during the election. But we immediately assume that what they mean by it is exactly what we are enjoying here in the U.S. However, their form of democracy is an Islamic democracy, and all of a sudden, their Islamic democracy is nowhere near what you and I would consider to be a democracy. So we have to be careful, of course, to understand what do these groups mean when they want to come to power. And yes, we support democracy. What kind of democracy do you support? I mean, are you going to give people the freedom to express themselves? Are you going to let the people express their opinions, to choose for themselves as well, to object to whatever you're going to be doing? Right now, Morsi is not listening to anybody. I don't think he's even going to listen to anyone, and he's going to pass that constitution and kind of put people in a position that is going to be very tough, because the Egyptian people, at the end of the day, are going to be the victim out of all of this. And I did write about this back in June of last year, and I did mention that the Egyptian people are going to be victimized no matter who was going to be victorious, whether the Muslim Brotherhood or even the other side, which the military side, I should say, because people have suffered for years, and they will continue to suffer. But the only hope that I can share with them is that democracy comes at a price. And there is a reason why we enjoy this democracy, is because there's a lot of people that paid that price, so you and I and the rest of the people who live here can enjoy it.
Mr. Fadi, one last question. Have we made a mistake trying to generalize Islamic extremism by blanketing Muslims as all being jihadists or being radicals? And if you can hold tight until we come back from this commercial break, I really want you to answer that question, because I think the way that some have taken in treating and looking at the Muslim faith and people who practice this particular religion may have something to do with the way that we're being responded to today. We'll be right back. You're listening to Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair on the Rents Radio Network.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutria-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. If you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity and is safe for you and your family. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at BioAge.com, spelled BIOAGE.com, BioAge.com, or call 877-288-9116. That's 877-288-9116. BioAge, the age of advanced organics.
Are you prepared for the future? Do you know how to navigate past the upcoming dangers before it's too late and seize budding opportunities before others do? Forecasting worldwide since 1980, Gerald Celente, publisher of the Trends Journal, provides timely and accurate trend forecasts that have earned him the reputation as the most trusted name in trends. The proof is in the hundreds of accurate forecasts Celente has made over the past 30 years. The 1987 stock market crash, the clean food trend, the dot-com bust. The Trends Journal alerts subscribers to early, subtle signs of crucial trends that will shape our future. It allows readers to anticipate change, recognize the implications, and take proactive strategies. Put your money where your mind is with Gerald Celente's brilliant and indispensable Trends Journal. Go to trendsjournal.com or call 845-331-3500. That's 845-331-3500.
We're talking with Mr. Fadi, the Quran dilemma. And Mr. Fadi, before I went to commercial, I asked you, have we made a mistake? And I don't mean that it's one that we've made consciously, but it seems overall people tend to look at the Muslim faith and individuals who practice Islamic beliefs in this country as all being radical and jihadist. Has that been a mistake for us, especially when we consider ourselves to be a country of freedom of religious expression?
Well, certainly, our lack of understanding of the teaching of Islam may have to do with how we look at the religion, and of course, especially after September 11, we tend to generalize that action to everyone who follows that faith. Listen, my family is Muslim. I came from an Islamic background. Are all Muslims really violent, want to follow their teaching? Because the problem is in the teaching and how it's interpreted, and that's where the radicals basically succeed every time to try to convince the rest of the people that they're following the commands of God, and they intimidate people when they say this. And what I mean by people, I mean the Muslim people, because the majority of Muslim people, of course, want to please God, but some of them really get confused over, is pleasing God mean I have to kill innocent people? And, of course, their lack of understanding of how to interpret the religion and its teachings and its holy book, like the Quran, tends to marginalize their opinion or at least keep them silent. And that's why the radicals always, are more vocal, even though they're minority. We're talking about maybe 10% of the population of Muslims in the world who can be called radicals or fundamentalists. So we need to really understand what Islam teaches. but not for the sake of capitalize on our fear and justifying why we should avoid Muslims. Actually, we need to work with the Muslim community. The majority of them are law-abiding citizens or people who came here for a better life and a better job. And many of them really do not want to live under dictatorship or Sharia or things like that. So we need to find ways to work with them. And they are the majority that we should really put our hands with. And there's a lot of reformers from the Muslim communities that would love to see this happening. But it's our lack of understanding of what Islam teaches is what keeps us apart with them. And this is part of why we do what we do in our ministry and why we write this book and why we write on the blog and why we have other products and why we try to do seminars and teachings, because we want people in general to be aware of this.
You know, I think that the fact that you are a former Muslim and that you actually try to bring Muslims and Christians together to a better understanding, I applaud you for what you do. I think that more people need to be a bit more open and try to actually understand things before they just make general judgments on people. It's not going to change what's going on in the Middle East, unfortunately, as far as our understanding, because the bottom line is like you said, it's the way the Quran is interpreted and taught to individuals in the Middle East from a very young age, and the fact that you do use intimidation. And unfortunately, I think it goes back to what Sarah Stern had to say from the Endowment for Middle East Truth. We have to start with our kids. If we continue to teach kids that, you know, certain races or religious faiths are our enemy, it's not going to be anything but continued bloodshed. Where can people get your book?
Well, they can go to the blog, of course, you mentioned. That's thequrandilemma.com. But even they can go to the main website, which is thequran.com. And as you mentioned, the Quran with a Q, Quran. So the main website, thequran.com, they can get our book. They can get other products. We have a mobile app. We have also an ebook. And there are links to our Facebook and Twitter as well.
And they can also get information as far as what your ministry is doing and how to hold seminars or invite you to speak?
They can do so. They can communicate with me directly from the Twitter handle, which is @Al-Fadi, at Brother Al-Fadi, and they have a link in there, or even through Facebook, or even our email. Our email is dilemma@thequran.com, and people can communicate with me that way as well.
Well, I appreciate you showing me the courtesy of not pointing out that I mispronounced your name for the whole hour.
Oh, no worry, brother. Don't worry about it. I understand. Those Middle Eastern names are not easy anyway, so I'm not offended by it at all.
I thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Al-Fadi. I will continue to leave a link up, and we've got your book on our recommended books page as well that people can go directly to it just by clicking on the book cover.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And coming up for the last 5 minutes of this hour, I need to repeat the first email to ttm@sinclairnews.net. That is TomMary@sinclairnews.net. Please put in the subject line, Carl Discovers Wildlife Art. That is this evening's children's book giveaway. The book is authored by Lynn Estes Fries. A copy of each of her 4 children's books were donated by her for the purpose of giving away on this program. Tonight's copy is Carl Discovers Wildlife Art. The first email to ttm@sinclairnews.net with that in the subject line. If you want to include your name and address in the body of the email as well, in the event that you are the winner, it makes it easier and quicker for us to get it out to you. Coming up in the second hour, we have Marinka Peshman. She will be back on the program. She is the author of The Whistleblower. She's got a new book out called Following Orders, The Death of Vince Foster, Clinton White House Lawyer. This is a new explosive book that digs into the unreported facts concerning the quote-unquote suicide events Foster, including some revelations that Foster actually died in the Clinton White House, and she will be up in the second hour. For those of you who have been waiting for me to get a video up and some information up on sinclairnews.net concerning the FOIA request information that was received from the Department of Homeland Security, please be patient. I've actually been trying to get this organized and together and get it up. Unfortunately, this past weekend, we have been overwhelmed with the requirements of filing additional FOIA requests that extend to the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the State of Colorado's Criminal Investigations, our Bureau of Investigations, as well as a District Attorney's Office and the Colorado Department of Corrections. We need to get these requests filed because there's just been an awful lot of activity and incidences that clearly involve violations of the law. And because these databases are supervised and controlled by law enforcement, we have to give them the opportunity to respond on how certain things managed to take place. But we will be getting them up, I can assure you. In addition to that, coming up on Thursday, I really want people to be here on Thursday in the second hour, specifically because we have Chris Cassone. Go to sinclairnews.net, scroll down on the right-hand side where we have the upcoming Through the Mirror with Larry Sinclair interviews posted. Please click on the YouTube link. I want you to hear High on a Mountaintop. It is a tribute to the heroes of Benghazi. I also want you to click on the link to SEAL, NSW Family Foundation. Chris is completely committed and dedicated to staying focused on the Benghazi issue until questions have been answered. And he is committed to supporting the SEAL NSW Family Foundation. And you can download this song for $1. The proceeds go directly to the SEAL NSW Family Foundation. Chris Cassone makes absolutely nothing and receives nothing whatsoever. The only cost that are eaten out of any of those downloads are the processing cost from the download itself. Everything else goes directly to the SEAL NSW Family Foundation. Check out the song. We will play it probably tomorrow night. We will also play it again on Thursday night when Chris joins us. I am in the process of scheduling for tomorrow night as well. I want you to take some time. I want you to go to the QuranDilemma.com. I want you to get as much information about Mr. Fadi as you can. I think you will find that the more we open ourselves to understanding people, the better we're going to be when it comes to interacting with each other, when it comes to making judgments. And God knows that we probably need to stop being judgers of people. But if we don't get a better understanding of who we're dealing with, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's someone down the street, whether it's a shop owner, then we're not going to get a handle on the fact that we really do need to stop judging people, and we need to stop becoming involved in situations that only come back to hit us twice as hard. And I think he's right. I think Chris Stevens was killed, as well as the 2 Navy SEALs and the other State Department employee, by weapons that we gave to Libyan rebels. I would not be surprised if we find, once the situation in Syria settles down, that some people in Syria were killed with weapons that came from the U.S. We've really got to get a handle on how we're giving weapons to so many different groups, thinking that we're trying to protect people, only to find out that we're also actively engaged and involved in facilitating the deaths of people. That is a scary thought. And it's an even more scary thought now. We talk about wanting democracy in the Middle East and elsewhere, and yet we're facing situations right here in our own country where, depending on what you're speaking or who you're speaking about, some crazy things are happening. It's got to come to an end. Coming up in the second hour, Marinka Peshman, author of The Whistleblower, How the Clinton White House stayed in power to reemerge in the Obama White House and on the world stage, and the new book, Following Orders, The Death of Vince Foster, Clinton White House Lawyer. Will be back after the news break.
The government dole like two lost souls living off his bowl. Ambition or dependency, who's gonna win this? Come on, raise your feather, man, I'm bent on miss. But cold cognition fell into despair while dependency was chilling in his lazy chair, still collecting welfare. But the bitching about her life ain't fair. Are you a contender? Hell yeah. Or just a pretender? You gotta be the man. Stand up and defend. Surfing through the channel, political pundits, all I see propaganda or integrity. Who's gonna win this? Come on, brace your feather, man, or bend on miss. It was a left, took integrity, got hit in the jaw. From the shot, heard around the world he never saw. Coming from a shout score. Looks like I picked another bloody loser. Betting all the media will do that to ya. Are you a contender? Hell yeah. Or just a pretender? You gotta be the man. Stand up and defend.
Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Now, you can give your body and your immune system a mega boost of disease-fighting oxygen with all-natural Oxy-C. With so many people now leading a sedentary indoor lifestyle, most are in a chronic state of oxygen deprivation, which sets up a perfect environment for disease, general fatigue, and a host of other symptoms. Oxy-C is yours in simple, convenient capsules. Nothing to mix, nothing to hassle with. Take it with juice or water anytime. Feel a cold or flu approaching? Have no energy or spark anymore? Try all-natural Oxy-C and prepare to be amazed. Oxy-C is only available from New Earth Health Solutions at Rinse.com. Look for the New Earth banner at Rinse.com.
Hi, this is Jeff Rentz. Royal Raymond Rife was without question the most gifted medical scientific genius of our age. He discovered that most disease-related microbes die quickly when exposed to their own specialized resonant radio frequencies. The BCX 411 Rife-type frequency instrument has received the highest praise on several continents for its precision, simplicity of operation, and successful research experiment. The BCX, with its comprehensive manual, allows you to select the frequencies you wish to experiment with for the length of time you want to run them. The BCX handheld plasma ray tubes and RF radio carrier